Hi, I'm Rick Bine. I'm going to take you to New Guinea today. I was on leave of absence from IUPUI, and I taught at the University of Technology here in this little town of Ley. New Guinea is Papua New Guinea is half of this island of New Guinea. This piece belongs to Indonesia. The Australians have a strong influence here. They basically protect Papua New Guinea from the Indonesians, and they probably pump in $400 million a year just to keep New Guinea independent from Indonesia. And so but a lot of Australians were there in the village where I was working, the town where I was working, and they did different things. They had what they called lay explorers, and they would go on these expeditions, different places. And occasionally I would join them. And the one particular time that I joined them was an interesting one, was to climb what they call Mt Wilhelm. And Mt Wilhelm is up here, probably close to that red line in there, but just straight west of Ley. And they had this mostly a mountainous country. One thing about New Guinea is that it's coastlines where most of the people live, and then you have this upland area in the middle, high mountains at least a mile high, and up above that. Mt Wilhelm was up about 19,000 feet. So there were some high mountains there, maybe 20 of them or so above 16,000 feet. And Mt Wilhelm was the highest one of them. And so with that, but it was also interesting to note that in the highlands, there was a whole new culture of people living up there. The lowland people lived down in the 80, 90 degree temperatures, and they were kind of, then up above were the highlanders, who were more rugged and more warlike, and they fought with each other a lot. And they thought the people on the coast were really wimpy people, and when they did come down, they would bully the local people. So they were more warrior-like and tough and strong. But anyway, as we went up there, we came through, had to go through several villages, and the roads were pretty bad at some point. We were going up one way, up mountainsides and zigzagging up and down. And you can see in one of the pictures there, the dust coming behind a vehicle there. And as we got up there, there were bridges. And sometimes the bridges were pretty crude. You had logs, just a piece of tree. They'd laid down maybe 20 trees, and you sort of bounced across this layer of logs. And then one time then after that, we came to a bunch of planks that were boards, and it was a much smoother bridge. But before we got to it, the villagers there stopped us. They had laid down all these branches and stuff across the entrance to the bridge, and before they moved it, they wanted some money because it was their bridge, and they thought it was their bridge, and we want to be compensated. But then the Australians challenged them and said, "Wait a minute, that's a government bridge. You didn't build this," and basically kind of bullied them a little bit. And the villagers removed the branches and whatever, so we proceeded on up the mountain there. And as we got up higher and kept going higher and higher, I mean, at one point we came to this what we call it, a guest house, which is the name of the person there running the guest house, Betty, and Betty's lodge. And so we stayed there, and then from there we couldn't go with the vehicle anymore. We had to travel by foot. And Betty arranged for porters to go with us, and these were from the local Chimbu tribe, and so they each carried our stuff. It was kind of weird. I felt a little strange because I'm not used to having a porter. I was ready to carry my own backpack up there, but anyway, I was assigned a guy named Raphael. He was my porter, and we continued on up. This group, maybe 10 of us, continuing on up there, and it was getting higher and higher and higher. And this guy was pretty athletic, Raphael was. And with my backpack on him, he was a real short guy. He was maybe about a foot shorter than me. But he was pretty powerful. He would actually get ahead of me and try to help me up the next steep part. And so it as we went along in groups, and there was another place along the way there where it was a cabin and some of the sort of a little place to rest. And as we continued, maybe four of the guys decided they were going to stay there. They just didn't want to go any further. And we continued up, and some more guys dropped out of it. And by the end of it, there was only 3 of us that made it to the top of the mountain. And so we got up there. It was, we were doing this at night. By the way, I didn't tell you that, but we were doing all this traveling at night, because when we stepped Betty's Lodge there, we spent the night, most of the night, but at 1 o'clock we got up, and just after midnight started doing this hike up the mountain. We needed a little bit of flashlights here and there when we were in the shadows, but we had this beautiful moon, full moon, it just lit everything up. And so as we went on up the mountain there, and this was Easter time too. And so when we got to the top of the mountain, there was a beautiful Easter sun coming over the horizon. And as you looked out there, you could see these the clouds were there. Still all these clouds. We couldn't see below the clouds. We could see the lights of some of the towns down below shining through the clouds. We could see where they were, but we couldn't see much detail. But as we looked across the top of the clouds, you could see the other mountain peaks sticking up through the clouds there. And we couldn't see the ocean. It would be nice if we could have looked out over the Pacific and seen that. But we were up there, and just this magnificent view up there at 19,000 feet. And then we just stayed there maybe half an hour, and then we started down. And as we went down, this is now daytime, and we were able to see so many things we'd missed going up in the dark. And now these beautiful lakes coming down, these tarns and cirques and arêtes, all these are glacial features. And so the glaciers at one time had really carved this place up and made it into a rather fabulous landscape. And so we continued on down and got back to the guest house there, spent another night there, and then we were going to drive back to Leh. And Raphael decided he wants to go to Leh. He said, I want to go with you guys. And he'd never been out of the highlands before. And so I said, Raphael, why do you want to go down there? It's hot. And you go down to Leh and you have all these rascals down there. And the word rascals is villains, people that rob you and whatever and beat you up. And so anyway, I said, do we have a lot of that? No, I still want to go down there. I can take care of myself. And so he went with us. And we got down there, and we all went back to our houses. And he found an arrangement for himself. He found there were a few other Chimbu people down there, had a little place that he could stay. So he did that. But that's the last I saw. I always wondered about how he was doing. But this is the experience of climbing Mt Wilhelm.